How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I wanted to try something. I was kind of messing around, and I wanted to play with the idea of being able to transport more than one set of logs per truck. So I was going to try something with Bruce. It was a good excuse, as I'm kind of doing a bit of an exploit, I suppose, or potential. Whether it's useful or not, we'll find out. Yeah, that's why I'm kind of redoing this mission. I did the other day, but with mods. I used the Azov 7330. A couple of people suggested some names for that. We'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, it was kind of like a good mission on this one. I'm theoretically going to do a bit of cheating, and as I've already done this mission anyway, on a different playthrough, like I said, with mods. But I have no doubt I could do this mission regardless. I'm going to do the same trip. It's just instead of having to take 2 trucks or do 2 trips, I was going to try and cut out the middleman, so to speak, and yeah, just get it all done in one. But overall, I don't know, you'll see. I'm going to cut through most of it. I was setting off with the Voron AE for this one. I originally tried the Grad, but it wasn't doing too well, especially that it's not got a diff lock. Somehow, my loaf flew off the trailer. It was an old way, before packing, how I used to tow trucks along. Like, this game seems to punish you when you tow stuff behind you, as it goes pretty slow. See, Loaf's goddamn professional. He gets himself out of everything. Yeah, so I used to put them on, like, I used to use the ramped flatbed quite a lot, particularly because I had the Navistar, and you couldn't have a crane and a semi-trailer on the Navistar, so I always used to run the crane with the ramped flatbed, and yeah, stick a loaf on the back, kind of thread the trailer through the ramps, and it holds it in place. I just left this bit in. I'm cutting most of the way to the sawmill. My revs now are kind of sitting about 1.25, maybe going a little bit higher through that slow trollish mud. As soon as I started getting out of it, the revs started blipping up to about 2,000, so I might be right on like certain sections of the map with the mud. A way they've like dialed it up and made it more difficult is made it put like extra harsh rev caps on the trucks. Again, I'll have to do more testing. I just kind of noticed it at the last minute as I was going through there, and yeah, I wasn't going through there to test that, but it made me think while I was, because when you're driving through a lot of the boggy mud sections, it just sounds like your engine's not giving you any oomph or anything. It's just like barely on tick over. It's like it's on limp mode or something. And yeah, and then like I said, at the last second I just wanted to check the revs, and I don't necessarily know if they're 100% accurate and all the rest of it, but just from the sound, the feel of the truck, the lack of power, it all seems to make sense that it does feel like something's being restricted, whether it's out and out power or the revs. And yeah, the fact that it clearly jumped up a good 500 RPM after I got out of that mud, when I'm in the same gear doing the same thing, still going kind of up a hill. I'd just kind of transitioned from what the game would consider seriously trollish mud to just standard issue mud, and yeah, things seem to change. Also, that's another boggy section. I just cut around. I ended up like, if you look on the map, there is a little kind of bold patch through the trees that you can loop round to the right if you're going that way, to the left if you're going the other way. And that ended up being a lot better as well, because that little mud section there is even worse. Like, even the clobs, loads of stuff was getting stuck in there as and when I've been driving through. Yeah, like I said, I'm cutting most of this first bit out. It's just a little journey. Got to grab 6 lots of planks. And again, I know I could have left the loaf behind and put 2 more planks on the back of the trailer, but one, this in a way can kind of help the ramped flatbed not tip as much, because there's something behind the ramped flatbed, and as I'm going around a corner, the loaf trailer is kind of on the inside, so it means the ramped flatbed struggles more to actually roll. Other than that, obviously, yeah, repairs. I did need the fuel for the Voron. I believe it did anyway. Yeah, also, while I was going this way, I mentioned it last time when I drove past it, that there was a little road veering off to the left, so I wanted to try that out, see if it's a little bit of a quicker way to the farm. Nothing special. I mean, this is about the most direct route. Last time I kind of went down south onto that island, cut across to the brick factory, used like, not the wooden bridge because I've not built it, but I just cut over the water. And yeah, so this is about the shortest route. You see there, went a little bit keen around that corner, but yeah, got a drift on. However, the loaf's kind of trapped between the ramps. Whilst the ramped flatbed went to tip, the loaf trailer was still on the inside, so the trailer couldn't fully tip, and then after the trailer kind of settled back down, the loaf trailer did like a bit of a drift and it went a bit crazy. But yeah, long story short, I think if I'd hoofed it around that corner without the loaf on the back and just 4 pieces of wood, I'd be willing to bet money the ramped flatbed would have tipped, because I've done it many times before. And yeah, even with the way that it's like kind of wedged between those ramps as well, it helps the loaf trailer not to be very tippable either. The nice thing about the loaf trailer versus the ramped flatbed, there's no dolly axle situation on the loaf trailer. Its tyres are horrendously small, and it has mud flaps that act more like spades that just dig in to the mud. But again, when it's up on the trailer and the way it's angled, it's like its wheels are pretty much off the floor. It's acting a bit more like a sled. So this is the road that cut off to the left. Pretty handy, to be honest, up to this point anyway. Motors along here, I'm still in high range, no problem. And yeah, the Voron EE, it was doing alright, but I don't know, everything just, it felt like tonight they've done an extra slow patch on everything, where obviously I'm using the Bruce soon, and that was feeding really slow. I ended up going out with a Tatron for a little bit of messing around, and that was really struggling through the mud, which I was very surprised at. Yeah, I couldn't quite reach them trees with a winch. There's something next to me that I'm caught on, but I winched from the middle of my truck to that. I am only creeping along at like half a mile an hour, if that. I'd practically consider it just nothing. However, because I knew I was literally centimetres away from that tree, it was worth it in that case. Got my front bumper just close enough to be able to get onto them. And yeah, what the hell's under this water? I mean, again, look at it, it's not even that deep, really. There's it appears they've kind of just nailed underwater with a load of giant rocks and possibly tree carcasses and all sorts. And yeah, this thing's getting caught like crazy. And I will say as well, like, it may appear that the loaf is adding extra weight in that. I don't believe it is. I mean, I've already said the loaf is basically weightless unless he's a weight distribution loaf. That's the only time it counts. But yeah, later on I kind of left it out of the footage, but I didn't have a loaf on with this setup, and this truck is just as slow as it is now. So that wasn't the issue. It more, if anything, it's lack of grit. It's the way they've coded the terrain on this game. Tomorrow, I'd kind of, if I've got time, I'd like to get a truck review done, preferably on the P512. But yeah, one way or another, I'm probably going to go to one of the other maps pretty soon and try some of the logging missions on those and just see. I'm particularly interested with logging missions, say on like Michigan on Black River. It's a pretty nice map anyway. It's a pretty smooth, free-flowing map. It's not too harsh on the mud patches and all the rest of it. So we'll see how the trucks behave. Because like I say, I still like these maps, but yeah, there's just too many sections that it makes the map get boring quicker. Like already, I'm just kind of like, oh god, I don't want to really do a mission where I have to cut through the farm. I'm not too keen on even driving down towards a sawmill these days because yeah, it's got those two stupid those patches of mud that I cut out on the way. There's probably like 4 minutes each way just on that little the section where I was showing you the revs. So anyway, that's that done. That's 6 planks. Yeah, this is the route I'm going to be taking, just zipping up to grab some logs. And like I said, normally you grab one set of logs, you click pack cargo, and it like makes just a whole trailer's worth of logs appear, and that's it. At least they're locked in place and you can set off. But again, it's only one set of logs, and if you look at some of the other missions, particularly ones they've added on other maps, some of them you've got to deliver like 9 sets of logs. I think it was like 3 medium, 3 long and 3 medium or whatever. I could be wrong on that, but there was a lot of logs to deliver on some of the missions, and I'm sure one of them was about 9 logs. So yeah, in theory you'd be making 9 separate trips, which is quite a lot to be doing. It's also a bit of a shame the way they've kitted out a lot of these vehicles or restricted some. Like for example, the only truck that can carry medium logs with like a carriage on its back and not need a trailer is the Cat 745C. However, the Cat 745C can't tow any trailers, so it can only do 1 set of medium logs and that's it. There's no trailers. Maybe if you winch a trailer behind you, it might let you still add them to the thing. I don't specifically know yet, so I can't confirm it. Yeah, loads of other stuff. I mean, the Dolphin could easily fit a log carriage on the back. I think the Truck Life Improvement Pack that has a bit of a upgraded Dolphin on there, I think that has the log carriage on the back. I'm hoping the Heavy Wrecker will be back at some point. I believe that is getting the various logging things added to it as well. Yeah, but as far as base trucks go, I mean, again, Bruce could easily fit a medium log carriage on the back. but it just won't give you the option. One of the nice things with Bruce, he's one of the few, that new Paystar can do the same, but it can fit like the long logging attachment on his chassis and the actual crane as well, which in this situation the crane isn't just for show. I'm going to need the crane because, again, I'm going to try and kind of cheat the system a little bit. And overall, well, I don't think things went too successfully in this situation. I'd almost say it would have been quicker just to bring 2 lots of trucks and yeah, have a road train situation going on, even though they're slower. However, the basic principle is there, and in certain situations and with certain trucks it might be worth doing, and I'll get to that soon. I'm catching my chin here. Maybe with the loaf on my roof it's making my chin a bit lower, but I honestly don't think so, because I've drove through this bit a couple of times, and that Azov 7330 was smashing its chin a lot. The Dolphin also smashed its chin a lot down there, and yeah, Bruce has just got a big chin, so I think it was kind of inevitable. As for names, by the way, with the Azov 7330, was it Fat Stacks was saying it's like a John and a Bruce, so he said Juice or something, Juicy Bruce, and I think it was Dean Young said it's like John but longer, Long John. So yeah, they might, I think they're the names, Long John or Juicy Bruce. That's the new one. Right, so I packed some logs onto my crane and then I unpacked the cargo, so I've now got 3 logs just sat in there. I then asked it to put 3 more logs onto the the manual loading situation, and yeah, you can probably see what's going to happen. I'm going to try and stick those logs in my trailer, and in theory, even though they're not packed at the minute, I now have 2 long logs worth of logs. And this, the crane, one, I don't like, it rotates the wrong way from when you press the arrows, but the crane grabber arms, it reminds me of the arcade machines where they're purposely set to be weak, except for like 1 in 100 goes when it'll grab hard enough to hold on to the toy. Yeah, as you can see there, I just swung round, and just from the weight of the logs like rotating, it just opened the crane pincer things and dropped the logs. So again, I've cut like quite a few sections out, otherwise this video would have been out 40 minutes long, and I didn't want this kind of thing to be that long. I was aiming for more like sort of 15 to 20 minutes. It's a little bit over, but we'll live. So yeah, anyway, you can see the principle. I've finally got my 6 logs in. I'm using the crane, in theory, to try and pin them all down a little bit, because, again, this is the bad side of doing this. As you can see, all my logs are loose at the minute. If I had one lot of cargo and it was packed, it like locks them in place, so they're not going anywhere. So that was the first issue. I believe there could be ways around it. And see, the problem is, I was thinking, for example, you could take the P16, that's got like a massive built-in cabin protector. So the logs would struggle to slide forward and go too far because they'd hit the back of the P16. However, you can't have the logging crane, and again, if you're doing what I'm doing now, you need the crane to be able to manually load the extra logs on. So yeah, it's certainly, all in all, I'm not sure if it was the best thing in the world, but again, I mean, I attempted tonight. I was curious myself. I wanted to make a video on it just to throw the idea out there, kind of test it for myself, so some of you guys can yeah, see the results and then either can test it yourself or decide, hell no, that was a disaster and you won't be doing that. So again, Bruce's massive chin, it's a little bit awkward up here. There was a log station where I could have got long logs pretty damn near to the farm. To be honest, I felt a little bit sort of cheap grabbing them from there, because it would have only been like a tiny little drive, and I wanted to kind of test the viability of how well these logs and that stay on. If I only had to drive for like a minute, it wouldn't really have give us that much information. But yeah, you're about to see one of the major problems with loose logs is that I clipped Bruce's chin, and yeah, 3 of the logs, well, 2 definitely went too far ahead. I think one's still a little bit keen. Again, another messing around with the crane. The crane kind of got tucked in on itself and locked in place somehow, so I had to restore the crane and start again and all sorts. It was a bit of a pain. Again, I edited a lot of it out because I didn't want 15 minutes of gameplay of me just fiddling around with a crane that's awkward. Yeah, again, I kind of gave up on the idea of pinning the logs down with a crane, and then when that happened I was like, nope, I'm doing it again, sod it. It's it can't really do any harm at the minute. But yeah, you can see how when the logs slid forward, there's nothing for them to butt up against, so in some cases they're able to slide far enough past the side of Bruce's cab. And yeah, they're like, once they've gone too far, they're now just sort of awkward. Don't mind a bit of sliding. Yeah, that's what she said. Main thing is, just got to get out of this bloody ditch thing. Again, Rockman. Rockman's back in force, and he's nailed it. Things look like they're going pretty well, but if you look at that log that's pretty much furthest over to the right, the back end of it is kind of just now slipped off the trailer. And it is going to proceed to rotate down and start sucking itself under the wheels, which I could have done without, but again, it's one of the many reasons you've got to test these things, you've got to know these things. So, more faffing around with the crane. Eventually get it on there. The other thing I don't like with the crane is, I know it's got the pincers and you can rotate them, but the actual connection between the pincers and the crane is kind of floppy, and even when I've grabbed the logs pretty much dead on in the middle, even the green dot is there, or red dot or whatever, the logs are tipping like up vertical and all sorts, so yeah, there's a little bit rough around the edges. It's not the worst thing in the world, and I appreciate I'm not very good on this log crane. I'm certainly happy to admit that one. But yeah, it is a little bit, especially with the camera angles sometimes as well. It sort of sets them at weird angles where it's like, I can't even tell if that's good or not. And they can be more hassle as well. The like the cradles that they're sat in, they can obviously rotate pretty much 90 degrees each. Once they rotate quite a long way, as you can see, they get a very narrow gap to actually like drop the log and land it between both cradles. But up to now, well, again, if I had just taken a, say for the sake of argument, another Bruce behind me with another long trailer and all the rest of it, could have got rid of the cranes on the back in that case. Yeah, it probably would have been easier to do that. But as I said, other missions, I was just using this mission because it was a handy one where there's only one thing of logs, like it needs 2 long logs, but that's it, and then the wooden plank, so it was quite a simple one to do. Like I said, I did it the other day with the mods, so it was a sort of a free mission to experiment on without worrying too much about the whole cheating the game aspect. Again, one of the logs has kind of slid its way under the wheels, however I was just like, sod it at this point, you can sit there, log. Because the good thing is, it isn't going to go any further. And it's funny actually, it reminded me, I don't know if anyone's ever seen like the video on YouTube. I've seen it quite a few times, I think it's a pretty popular video on YouTube. But yeah, someone's like wedged a log under their rear axle, and they're basically driving with 3 wheels on their car or truck or whatever it was, I can't quite remember. I just remember the log, they'd kind of, yeah, tucked a log between their rear axle or whatever and tied it all to the chassis. And it was just scraping a log on the floor in place of a wheel, and I mean, eventually you'd run out of log. But yeah, it just reminded me actually as well, I'll tell you this quickly. My brother years ago, he lived in the Isle of Man. He had an ex-Royal Mail Escort van, good old Eckie vans, they were pretty cool back in the day. And yeah, they got no MOTs over there or anything, so cars can theoretically get a bit rough, and you can just keep it going until it dies of multiple things. Yeah, he came over to England, and when he got off the boat, his exhaust rubbers snapped, and he was dragging the whole length of the Escort van exhaust along the floor. Yeah, my logs are all getting rotated. See me loaf. Got logs, boys. Yeah, and as he was driving down the motorway, his exhaust was scraping, and obviously, because it was at night, sparks were flying out. This is Adam. And it was just funny, because when he said to me, he said someone pulled up, like, next to him while they're going about 80 on the motorway, and they were pointing, like, your exhaust is dragging. My brother just said, what? Do you think I can't bloody hear it or see it? Because, like I say, it was at night, so it's like a fireworks display going off behind his car. And yeah, he had the radio up flat out, just so he couldn't hear the sound of it. And yeah, he genuinely drove all the way down to sort of where we live, probably about a 200-mile journey, and by the time he got there, he had about 1.5 foot, 2 foot of exhaust left, so he'd managed to disintegrate about 10 foot of yeah, Escort van exhaust, so we had to go to the scrapyard. get it all sorted. Anyway, yeah, I've pulled up now. Again, this is... plan went a little bit awry because the logs all started going crazy as I was just pulling up here. One log did fall off. Fortunately, you can just see the top of it. It's literally behind the trailer, so I was pretty lucky. But yeah, in theory, let's say I got the 6 logs on and they didn't all go crazy and I actually pulled up with 6 logs neatly in the trailer. I could now just get the crane out, pick 3 of them out the trailer, put them to the side of me, and then pack the cargo, and then I've got 1 set of logs, again with this bloody crane arm. Look at it. It rotates the wrong way, then it rotates like a madman. The log rotation flings around and, again, just manages to, like, scissor the little pincers open. That's the thing, though, like, with this game, they always make everything, like, a bit not quite working properly. It's like, it's a game, you can easily make those jaws absolutely solid, so they, like, super grab everything. And again, actually, quickly, look, this is the crate. This is what it did. When I tucked it into this kind of position, I'm stuck now. I can't lift the crane, can't lower it, can't move the arm in or out. It's just freaking out, and it's kind of, like, locked itself into place. So I had to restore the crane and, yeah, give it another go. That's what I mean, yeah, with this game. It's the same with the big cranes on this game. Like, Puppy Master, the guy who made the Heavy Wrecker, that crane is a beast on there, so it can obviously be done. I mean, it's a game, you can make it do anything you like. But they make the cranes where they're like, meh, a bit crappy and they don't quite work. And yeah, it's the same with like the pincers on this crane. If it was a modded version, they'd just grab a log and it's like, that log is not leaving those jaws until you tell it. That's how it should be. Yeah, so you see what I did there. Flicked 3 logs, well 2, 1 fell off. Then I was able to pack the cargo, got my cargo in there, delivered 1 logs. And now, instead of having to now drive back out the farm, back to the log station, or do a road train, I've only got to pick these logs up. So, in theory, if it was a smooth drive all the way here, it probably would save you time. And again as well, I'm only delivering 2 lots of logs here. Imagine if I had to deliver like 3 lots, or you had a few destinations and you had to deliver more like 6 lots. In theory, I don't actually know, maybe I'll have to try it one day if I'm bored enough, but you could stack probably 20 or 30 logs in that cradle. So you're going to have like 7 to 10 loads of logs in one go. Again, the only thing is though, if you had 30 logs on there and you get to your first drop-off point, you'd have to crane 27 logs off just to pack the first cargo. So yeah, I wouldn't want to go too extreme with it. But 2 or 3 loads would be pretty good. That's definitely what she said. And again, getting these last annoying logs on, and there you go, one's just sticking just outside the front cradle. And yeah, I mean, mostly that's about it for this mission. It got done. I mean, yeah, I don't know if I will be doing this long term. To a degree, I wouldn't want to do it long term anyway, because I want to do the missions properly. Like I said, that's why I did this mission, because I've kind of already done it. But yeah, I just wanted to try it and make a video on it. Overall, probably more hassle than it's worth. Finally got the money in cash, don't really need either anymore, but we'll take it. That's about it for today though. I hope you enjoyed, I hope that helps. Thanks for watching, thanks for Patreon members, and I'll be back soon.